Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mary Pouton. I'm the Associate Dean for Development at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to see you here today. It's my great honor to welcome you to witness Dr. El-Matwally's installation as the Mary Gray Cobey Professorship in Neonatology. These investiture ceremonies have become one of the most meaningful and personalized celebrations at the school. It's an important tradition, and it allows the university community to come together to celebrate the wonderful achievements of one of our esteemed faculty members. It has become a tradition that highlights that endowed professorships and chairs are among our top priorities and play a critical role in providing support for our faculty who are dedicated to improving human health. Today's ceremony is also one way for our school to convey our immense appreciation to our donors and the impact that their gifts make on the school. Now, it's my great privilege to introduce today's Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Stephen Zinn. Dr. Zinn is the Drs. Ruben and Violet Gigi Endowed Professor and Chair of the Department of Pediatrics. Dr. Zinn is also Chief of Pediatrics at the University of Maryland Medical Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Zinn.
Well, good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure to serve as the Master of Ceremonies today and to introduce our first speaker, Dean Gladwin. Dr. Mark Gladwin is Vice President for Medical Affairs at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and he's the John Z. and Akiko K. Bowers Distinguished Professor, as well as the Dean of the University of Maryland School of Medicine. He joined the University of Maryland as Dean on October 1st, 2022. Previously, Dr. Gladwin was the Jack D. Myers Distinguished Professor and Chair of the Department of Medicine at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine and founder of the Pittsburgh Heart, Lung, Blood, and Vascular Medicine Institute. Dr. Gladwin, please welcome our new Dean, Dr. Gladwin.
Good evening, everybody. This is the end of my third month on the job here, and it's an absolute honor to oversee this incredible evening. And thank you, Dr. Zinn, for this kind introduction. I want to welcome everybody to this wonderful event in this beautiful building at our campus. So today we're going to honor Dina El-Metwally, and I have to say that I was able to meet her 2 weeks ago. I was doing a tour of the pediatric department, and they took me to the neonatal ICU, and I had an impassioned tour. I'll mention that a little bit later, but just by chance, that was 2 weeks ago. So I've been able to see you at work and what you created. So anyway, I want to recognize this occasion of this new investiture of the Mary Gray Cobey Professor of Neonatology. We'll also recognize the generation of the Cobey family for the creation of this endowed professorship. We're delighted to have 3 generations of the Cobey family join us here this afternoon, in person and virtually. Those that are present are Bill and Mary's daughters, Julia Gluck and Betty Joseph, granddaughter Carla Nelson, and great-granddaughter Katie O'Brien, who's also and in sort of a remarkable cycle of life and health. I also want to point out that Katie O'Brien is a nurse in the Dr. Ruben and Violet Gigi Neonatal Intensive Care Unit at the University of Maryland Children's Hospital. Thank you. So I also want to acknowledge Dr. El-Matwally's family, who have joined us today in person, sitting in the front row here, especially her husband, Dr. Mohammed Sahin, her daughter Salma, her son-in-law Kareem, and her mother, Dr. Salma Gandor. And I'm sorry, the mothers are the most important in these events. We also welcome family members who have joined us remotely, especially Dr. El-Matwalli's siblings, Dahlia and Ahmed. Welcome. So the gift of an endowed chair or professorship maintains a unique function in sustaining scholarship and advancing care. In a particular field over decades and even centuries, this gift really keeps giving, highlighting the esteemed position in which a gift is held. Our first endowed professorship was actually established in 1929 and was seen through an estate gift of John F.B. Weaver, class of 1894. Over 90 years later, the impact of this first endowed professorship is evident by everyone. Today, the John F.B. Weaver Professorship is still benefiting the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, demonstrating the perpetuity of these gifts. I'd like to ask all the faculty members here today with endowed professorships and chairs to stand and be recognized. While Dr. Weaver set the precedent, many others have followed to bestow the University of Maryland School of Medicine with nearly 90 endowed chairs and professorships. This time-honored tradition of endowed professorships, fueled by our visionary benefactors, endorses the School of Medicine's legacy of excellence. Every success we have enjoyed as an institution since that first gift by Dr. Weaver can be largely attributed to the connection created by these gifts. A special relationship was established between the legacy of the donor and the career of the honoree and the bedrock of the institution. Each endowment has enabled the department to excel and by extension, the School of Medicine to flourish. Each endowment has delivered a prestigious level of dignity and distinction to a faculty member. Each endowment has provided a special space for a legacy to live. These gifts support decades to centuries of work focused on life-saving discoveries, superior patient-centered care, and exceptional academic achievements on behalf of the School of Medicine, all for the ultimate benefit of the citizens of Maryland and our increasingly connected and challenged world. This endowed professorship we are celebrating today was established through a bequest from William, Wilfred, and Mary Gray Cobey. With this endowment, William and Mary established a legacy in the advancement of neonatology, with our first recipient in 2008, Dr. Cynthia Bearer, and now we'll continue with Dr. El-Matwali. As part of the Investiture Ceremony tradition, the School of Medicine has designated a special medal to uniquely recognize faculty members who hold endowed professorships. The front of the medal shown here features the image of the founding and first dean, Dr. John Beal Davidge, and the historic Davidge Hall. The back of the medal lists the 4 pillars of our mission: education, research, patient care, and service, as well as the official name of the endowed professorship. I'd like to now invite Dr. Miss Julia Gluck, who is the daughter of William and Mary Cobey, to please join me here on the stage. Okay. All right. And as a token of our appreciation, I'd like to present you with a specially framed version of the Endowed Professorship Medal, which will be presented to Dr. El-Matwali today. And I invite you to say a few words on the behest of the family. So I'll take this with me and stand aside.
Just a few words. Thank you for welcoming us to this very special occasion. Congratulations, Dr. El-Metwally, as the next Cobey Professor in Neonatology. And congratulations to Dr. Bearer for her extraordinary accomplishments during her tenure. Dr. Bearer kept our family informed, and invited members to tour. As has already been said, we are fortunate to have 3 generations. My sister Betty, her husband Gerard. We have 3 brothers and another sister who could not be here. My daughter, Dr. Carla Nelson, and then, as you know, my granddaughter, who's working in the NICU here. Our parents' philanthropy was and is a wonderful inspiration to their children and grandchildren. They gifted to many causes, but nearest and dearest to their hearts and our hearts was this endowment. They were prompted to become involved with the pediatric department, serving on a board for several years after the loss of 2 very young granddaughters, Alice Cobey from lack of natural immunity, and Carrie Cobey from SIDS. Children were paramount in our parents' lives, and if they were still with us, they would be overjoyed by over 50 great grandchildren and the outstanding outcome of the Cobey Professorship in Neonatology. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Gluck. As I said, this is only my 2nd investiture. I think I'm supposed to give you this plaque, but we'll take care of that later. But that was wonderful. Thank you. So over the course of today's program, you're going to hear from Dr. El-Matwally's colleagues and friends who will highlight her significant career accomplishments, which have earned her this honor through the Mary Gray Cobey Professor of Neonatology. But I'm just going to first comment myself on a few of her academic achievements. She's division head of the Division of Neonatology, medical director of the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. She's played a pivotal leadership role in the design and operation of the $30 million state-of-the-art Doctors Rubin and Violent Gigi NICU. The design was instrumental in the transition of other NICUs at the University of Maryland and globally. And as I mentioned, I toured it 2 weeks ago. It was, I thought, a testament to the best in excellent patient care, but the compassionate thinking of every little detail to help this baby and family thrive when confronting adversity. The double paned windows for silence, the silent refrigerator to keep the breast milk warm, the couches and beds for families to be there through this very, difficult time. The layout of the NICU beds for the nursing care to be right there and supportive. There was just a beautiful example. If anybody can, you should visit it. This marriage of compassionate, patient-centered care and state-of-the-art science of medicine. So congratulations on that design, which I know you bled for every detail of that design, and we're incredibly proud of it. Her scientific expertise focuses on what I call one of our major generational challenges, and that is the horrors of the addiction, and in particular the opioid epidemic. She focuses on neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome and other substance exposures in pregnancy, which are all too common now. She's developed a clinical database that spans more than 15 years, including maternal and infant demographics, opioids and polysubstance exposures, clinical and brain imaging, withdrawal scores, medications, resource utilization cost, and most importantly, outcomes. She's used real-world data to develop algorithms that guide the most effective morphine dosing strategies to treat neonates with opioid withdrawal syndrome. During my tour, she pointed out to me that we should be pulling all the data from the ICU into our new artificial intelligence, machine learning, clinical care programs, always advocating for her patients and for this important research. In her studies, clinical data from multi-ethnic cohorts are combined with whole genome sequencing, genome-wide association studies, and multi-omics to develop risk scores to predict withdrawal signs and responses to pharmacotherapy. She also collaborates with basic scientists in the Department of Anatomy and Neurobiology to create mouse models of neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome that replicate what happens to people, providing novel ways to discover and translate new clinical treatments. At the far end of the translational spectrum, she's also worked with colleagues at the School of Pharmacy and the Robert H. Smith School of Business to deploy artificial intelligence and machine learning to optimize outcomes in her vulnerable neonatal study populations. Dr. El-Matwally, congratulations on this special celebration as we honor you and for all your contributions to medicine and science.
Well, what else can I say about Dr. El-Metwally? This investiture is very special to me, in part because it's very closely linked to my professorship, and it's very, very closely linked to my ability to recruit Dr. El-Metwally to join us. Dina probably was destined to be a physician, and I would guess had little choice. Her mother is a very accomplished physician. Her father was a urological surgeon in her native Egypt. So I have a sense you probably didn't have much choice. And medicine was your destiny. You've already heard about Dina's accomplishments with research. And Dina did play an incredible role in creating the Doctors Ruben and Violet Gigi Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. The lead gift for that NICU and the benefactors from my professorship are in the audience here today. Mr. Rick and Stacy Hoffman. And although this is Dina's day and Dina's evening, without that NICU, I would never have been able to recruit Dina. You have to remember that in 2009, when I started talking to Dina about coming to the University of Maryland, our NICU was an 8-bed NICU, 8-room NICU, with 7 or 8 isolates per room. I wouldn't say that it was state of the art at that point. I told Dina we had a vision. I told Dina we had support from the School of Medicine, from the medical center. And I spent days and then weeks convincing Dina that this would be the right place for her, that her career could grow here. And if she just bought into my dream, my vision, we would create the best neonatal intensive care unit in the country. And with the help of very generous donors, we have the Doctors Ruben and Violet Gigi Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. It is the largest level 4 NICU in the state of Maryland. And I couldn't have done it without Dina. So thank you so much for believing in the dream, for joining us, for leading us in this very, very long journey. I knew that if I could recruit Dr. El-Metwally to come here, we would be successful. I just knew she would make it happen. And for those of you who are around, she did make it happen. She was tenacious. She knew exactly what she wanted. She knew exactly what the babies needed. And she never accepted no for an answer. And we have this spectacular unit that provides incredible care because of the nurses and the staff and the doctors, but also it is so warm and welcoming to families that I think it's hard to reproduce. That was one of the best days of my tenure at the University of Maryland. So I believe Dina signed her contract in December 2010. And it took us a number of years to finally build the new NICU, but it couldn't have happened without you. So Dina, I want to express congratulations from myself, but from the entire department for you receiving this professorship. Is well-deserved. And you have just made such a difference in the lives of so many families here that it is my honor to work with you in the Department of Pediatrics. I'm just going to add that others have recognized this as well. So I have to keep, offering and making sure that Dina is not recruited away. But she's also been a top doctor in Baltimore 4 or 5 times. And the AMA did a series called Day in the Life of a Physician. And Dr. El-Matwali was the first physician they chose for that series. So she has received recognition locally and nationally as well as internationally. So at this point, I want to call on a number of her colleagues who would like to say a few words. The first is I'd like to invite Dr. Maureen Black to the podium. Dr. Black is Professor Emeritus for the Department of Pediatrics and played an instrumental role in Dr. El-Matwali's success as both an associate professor and now professor. Maureen.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Dean Gladwin, and Dina, thank you. We're all very, very excited to be here. Okay, what I'm going to do is to talk to you about the pathways to become an endowed professor, the pathways that led Dina to becoming an endowed professor. So we'll start with a pathway through pediatrics. She arrived in 2011 and move a little faster here. In 2016, she was promoted to associate professor. 2019, she was the interim chief of neonatology. 2021, she was promoted to professor and chief of the division of neonatology. And there we are. 2022, she is an endowed professor. We're all very proud of her. Well, now let's look at her pathway through research. She arrived here with a solid publication record from Egypt with expertise in neonatology and medical education. She built expertise in NICU safety and environmental toxicants. And as you've heard, she built expertise in neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome, or NOWS, which was really a horrible situation in our country. She has received awards, both rewards from the University of Maryland, an Empower Award to work on NOWS, and awards externally from NIH. So this is a research pathway that leads to an endowed professorship. These are Dina's publications for 2022. The year's not over. And she already has 5 publications. She is a woman who manages to get many, many things done. Well, let's look at her pathway through the NICU. The picture illustrates her receiving a foundation grant. She's dedicated, as you've heard, to care and patient safety and to excellence. She led the design, as Dr. Zind described, of the state-of-the-art NICU. that she has a wonderful record in mentoring medical students, residents, fellows, global fellows, postgraduates, PhD candidates, and faculty. And Dina understands that for babies, they need not only excellent pharmacological care, but they need non-pharmacological care. So she established what all babies need, a cuddling program. This is another pathway that led to becoming the endowed professor of neonatology. Let's look at local and national service. You've heard what Dina has done in the NICU and the University of Maryland. How about beyond that? Well, she's testified to the House for bills and legislature for maternal and child care. So it's not just enough we do it here, we have to have it done throughout the state and beyond. She's the chair of the Maryland chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics Committee on Fetus and Newborn. She's an associate editor of pediatric research in charge of environmental health. Where does she have the time? She's a reviewer for the NICHD Neonatal Network and for 8 professional journals. And she's the co-chair of International Hot Topics, which is a neonatal medicine conference. So she is well-known locally, well-known nationally, and she has an international reputation. This also leads to becoming an endowed professor of pediatrics. Well, what about recognition of excellence? Dina, in her career, received the Sheila Wallace Award, which is an International Child Neurology Association award. For 4 years, she was a top doc in Baltimore Magazine. That's a top doc. The NICU received a very impressive award from the Intelligent Healthcare Association for patient care and health delivery. And as Dr. Zinn mentioned, the Journal of the American Medical Association featured a day in the life. And of course, Dina was chosen as the very first one. So you can see this is a pathway of recognition. So we celebrate success today. We are here to celebrate the wonderful success of Dina El-Metwally. Thank you, and I need a hand.
Thank you, Maureen. That was just really great. Our next speaker is Dr. Betty Vore. Dr. Vore served 48 years as the medical director of the neonatal follow-up clinic at the Women's and Infants Hospital at Brown University. Dr. Vore is a professor of pediatrics at Warren Alpert Medical School of Brown University. And she has been Dr. El-Matwally's research mentor during her fellowship and throughout her career. Please welcome Dr. Betty Vore.
Thank you so much. You know, listening to these first couple of talks here, I said, my goodness, they're covering so much of it, but there's so much excitement in what Dina has accomplished over the years. I actually have known Dina 25 years. And did the combined fellowship with her residency in pediatrics at Women and Infants Hospital. And on the bottom right, you see our NICU. We have an 80-bed single-room NICU. On the left is Hasbro Children's Hospital or Rhode Island Hospital, where she was able to complete her residency. And in the middle is the Van Wickle Gates at Brown University that are only open once a year at graduation. But lots of good memories of Dina in Rhode Island. So one of the things about Dina that I would like to mention is her interpersonal skills with people. She is a warm, outgoing, incredible individual. And even coming down here, even some of the secretaries were saying, send our regards to Dina, the nurses, the nurse practitioners, and the colleagues. On the far left, you see our chief at the time, Dr. Jim Padbury, with Dina. And I would say Dina in the NICU always had excellent clinical skills and teaching skills, but her interpersonal skills stand out. In the middle picture, we see Dina with Dr. Toby Yanowitz, who was our fellow at the time, and an attending Dr. Lee at the time, and two of our nurse practitioners. And early on, she was doing research already in high-risk infants, preterm infants, looking at the morbidities and thinking about how can we improve their outcomes. I am really delighted that the first paper on her resume that she published was done from her work in Rhode Island in our neonatal intensive care unit. And this is still a hot topic, infants on the limits of viability. And this was one of the first papers of outcomes in the 1990s. Infants born extremely early. As you know, a pregnancy, normal pregnancy is 40 weeks, and these are babies born at 22 to 25 weeks. So, and her trajectory, and a lot of her research has been discussed, the pathways. I love seeing that. That was great. But she has always been devoted to improving the outcomes of all high-risk infants, preterm, term, encephalopathy. She's done so many quality improvement studies. When I reviewed what she had been doing over the years, I was really impressed. And as we heard, she's very interested in treating the infants who are exposed to opioids and treating them during their withdrawal. She's also looked at other heavy metals, including lead, when they're found in breast milk, and how they may impact on the infant. Use of different things, innovative smartphones in the NICU, music exposure, how does it impact on sleep, and the overall NICU sensory environment. When I heard about her Cuddler program, we have one too, and that has been such an important component, particularly during COVID, when often families were unable to visit. So over the years, I keep bumping into Dina. She has come back many times to Rhode Island. She came to visit us at our home, but she came for several special events. One was the 35th symposium in honor of Bill Lowe, who had been both of our chief of neonatology and our chairperson. And we see her down on the bottom here with Jim Padbury, our chief of neonatology at that time, Dr. Juan Esteban, who was a fellow with her and who remains on our faculty, and myself. And I've had the pleasure of getting together with Dina internationally. We just moved, so I couldn't find too many pictures, but one was at the Egyptian Society of Child Neuropsychiatry in 2005 in Aswan, Egypt. And it was just an incredible experience, and to have that international flavor. And then in 2008, Hot Topics on Neonatal Medicine at the International Conference at the King Fahd Armed Forces Hospital in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. You can see by our press, it isn't all hard work during these meetings. So how do we pull this all together? She has just had so many incredible accomplishments. No one will deny she is highly intelligent, very motivated. She is always hard work, going the extra mile, but she's also innovative, thinking out of the box, in combination with outstanding clinical teaching, research, and administrative skills, the whole packet, and an international reputation for her many achievements. But I would like to say a very special quality of Dina is that she is a very kind, caring, benevolent physician and colleague. And in my opinion, she is most deserving of the professorship endowment as the Mary Gray Cobey Professor of Neonatology. And I'm so proud of you. Sometimes I get a little choked up with all this, but congratulations, Dina.
Okay, we have one final speaker today. Our final speaker is Dr. Honoree Ali. Dr. Ali and Dr. El-Matwally have collaborated clinically and educationally in Egypt, as well as in the United States at George Washington University Hospital and at the Cleveland Clinic, where Dr. Ali is now the chair of the Department of Neonatology. Please welcome Dr. Ali.
So it's an honor to join today, and I'm really very pleased, very happy for Dina as a fellow colleague from Egypt. My first time I saw Dina, actually I was in a conference. I was invited in a conference in Egypt, and I saw so fluent and compassionate physician. At the time I didn't know that she's Egyptian, and then after her talk, and I spoke with her, and then I learned, oh, she was born in Egypt and reared and actually graduated from Egypt. Dr. Dina El-Metwally was very passionate about every aspect of her care. She's very sincere. And really, that's what makes a difference for leadership. We all have capacity to work hard and provide the best care, but really, leader needs to have that passion that bring the people and align people around her. And she is truly not an exception for that. So Dina, she graduated from Suez Canal University. And this is a university basically in the border of Sinai, basically the furthest point in Africa. Where you cross the Suez Canal, you are in Asia. So that is where her graduated from that university. It's was a school that really was different than other medical schools, was not a classical kind of medical schools. It has the problem-based curriculum that was really first time to be tried in Egypt, or maybe in the whole Middle East area. And of course, she graduated with honors there, and actually she was offered a position in Egypt as a faculty position after her graduation. However, she came to the United States and she started her training back from zero again as a resident and then as a fellow. After that, she did another fellowship in Toronto, in sick kids in Toronto for neonatal transport before she came back to Egypt as a faculty assistant and associate professor. Second time I saw Dina, actually I was invited to give a lecture in Saudi Arabia, and I visited the institution there, and then I found someone. I remember that this person, but she was actually dressing the Saudi Arabia dress, and yet to know that she was invited to start a first accredited fellowship program in the country of Saudi Arabia, that Dina was the one who started that. And of course, she did that very successfully. Dina, I really was very impressed today. I did visit University of Maryland NICU when I was in Children's National and George Washington University more than 10 years ago. And I had the chance to visit the NICU today. It is really, really that what makes a difference for a person's entire career. I can work very hard for my entire career, but I may not have the opportunity to give back to our community as in such value. When you see the sense and the passion in each part of this NICU, the artistic colors of each place, even the floors, is dedicated area for the baby and another dedicated area. You can see two colors of the floor, area for the baby and area for the parent. And of course, the structure from outside and from inside and the noise control and the different lights, it is someone that really needs to be caring about every aspect of the baby. And I'm very, very pleased for the babies and for the parents and for the entire city and community that University of Maryland has this type of advanced and individualized NICU, that basically you are making it hard for other chairs in other institutions to try to repeat this type of example that you created in the University of Maryland NICU. So Dina, she's an MD, but she also has a PhD in neurosciences, where she focused mainly on the macropremy. So the word macropremy, we say it too often nowadays, but at that time in the 1990s was really something very rare. So you can see the visionary work that in 1990 she's working on a macropremy and a peri-viable baby that currently is a hot topic, although that is the PhD topic for her in 1990. She first visited United States, by the way, with a grant from the United Nations, the UNICEF, and that where she visited Boston at that time at the very first trip to the United States. So Dina received so many awards. I would like to mention one of them is the Gold Medal Award by the Egyptian Medical Syndicate, which is very prestigious award that I'm very happy for her. And just to imagine to really graduate with an honor from a country like Egypt that has 100 million population and had only 10 medical schools. So just to be in the school itself, you really have to be a genius. But then when you are in that school and to become on the top of that, that is really can speak very well for Dina's work. So congratulations, and I'm sure University of Maryland yet to see a lot from Dina in the upcoming years, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for your kind words. It's now time to move forward with the ceremony. I'd like to ask Dr. Zinn and Dr. El-Matwally to come stand next to me up here to my right. I'm delighted to present to you one of the School of Medicine and the university's highest honors, this Endowed Professorship. This honor acknowledges your career accomplishments and contributions to our academic community. I know that your peers and colleagues in attendance today, and your mentors and your family, and all of us throughout the School of Medicine widely agree that you are most deserving of this honor. I'm now pleased to present to you this medallion, which signifies that you have now become the Mary Gray Cobey Professor of Neonatology, and I hope you will proudly display this medal and wear it publicly at major events such as investiture ceremonies like this one, convocations, and commencements. Dr. Zinn, I'll let you do the honor. We'll now ask you to say a few words.
What can I say?
Right here up at the podium.
Well, that's overwhelming, and please excuse me because it's really a great honor, and everyone's words are just incredible. No, I hope I deserve just a smidge of this. I want to thank you all for being here for me today. It means a lot. And can I start? All right. I'm just going to say thank you words. I want to thank my grandmother. My grandmother graduated from the School of Law, Cairo University in 1943. She was one of 3 women in Cairo University, and I didn't understand the significance of this until I grew up and knew what it meant to me. The picture on the right is my grandmother in a circle, and the arrow is my mother. My mother went to medical school. She was really young, like 16 or so. And my grandmother brought me up. I had to go with her to court. I saw her defending people. I saw the strong women that inspired me to the day. And the mother who graduated from medical school, not only this, got her master's, got her PhD, and as a child, I remember 2 words. Her PhD, marasmus and kwashiorkor. And kwashiorkor is protein energy malnutrition. My mother had the biggest repository of liver biopsies that she done herself. And I didn't understand the significance of this until the NIH found our number, called us, and asked for her PhD thesis. And the thesis one was in the Library of Alexandria, and they got the thesis from there with her permission and all the work she'd done. My father, a surgeon, and yes, Dr. Zin, you're right, I had no choice. I wanted to go to the School of Art so much. I paint, and it was even out of question. I couldn't even go to attend the exam of the School of Arts. My father moved from Mansoura. He came to Alexandria where he met my mother. She was still a medical student, and he was teaching at the university, Alexandria University. At that time, having an age difference wasn't a big issue. And they were the great inspiration for me. This is my family, my sister, Dalia, who's defending her PhD thesis the same time I'm here. And my brother, he's a pediatrician as well. So I grew in this family, and they were great inspiration. And I got by time to understand what it meant for my grandmother to really hold the torch for all of us as one of the pioneer 3 Egyptian women in the history of Cairo University to be in the first class that accepts women. I grew to know how much education was important and expensive. My parents put us in very good schools, strong, good schools. I spent the 15 years of my life in the English Girls' College, a British school, to learn all what I need to learn. 15 years, I don't think I stayed anywhere 16 years, but in this school. And I knew if they wouldn't have had this kind of education for me, I wouldn't be the person I'm today. I have to mention why I left the School of Medicine in Alexandria and went to the Suez Canal, because of 2 people who had vision, Zuhair Nauman and Asma Tazzat. When I started, they said, we don't know if you're gonna graduate or the government will really approve this new school. Student-centered, community-based, problem-solving medical school. They held the challenge, and I loved the challenge. And I stepped out to Alexandria University to understand after being sheltered for such a long time, what does community mean? What does it mean to serve people? What does it mean to be in the community, to go to houses from year one? Incredible people, they are not here now, but they actually put the basis of community-based education, student-centered education, third medical school after Maastricht University and McMaster. And I had the privilege of being graduate of this school. My first exam was El-Matwali. She asked me about the goals of the medical school. She asked, what are the 5 goals of your medical school? Who asks a medical student this question? They were hung on the wall of the faculty of the building as we entered. And I tried to play smart and tell her 3 of the goals that I remembered. We should be community, we should be student-centered. And she said, no, if I grade you now, you're not going to pass. Go know what the goals of your school are before you sit and take any exam further. She taught us the importance of being related to people, the community, to public health, to serve people, to serve humanity. Me and my mother shared this one book. It's a WHO-sponsored book on community-based education. I'm very proud of her. She was my boss, chair of pediatrics, and inspirer. She was chair for 16 years. And she meant a lot to me. I didn't find any common publication between us, but our work with the WHO, talking about community-based education, student-centered education, problem-based learning, and Hank Schmidt, who I just shared the conference with him 2 weeks ago, in October, I mean, have published this book. And Zuhair Naaman has talked about the importance of community-based education and relatedness to people. This is how I studied. This is St. Catherine. This is how we went to Sinai. And we knocked on the houses. We talked to people about medical education. Here I'm a first-year medical student, just coming from the extravagant Alexandria, my friends, my school, to be really walking in the sand, helping people, bringing them to the hospital to check their blood sugars, to make sure they get the right nutrition. And I got my first chance to travel to the US as a medical student, as a second-year medical student. I got the award for the child survival and I spent 3 months. They shaped my life and they made me really eager for research, for what's next, and more and more to serve people. And all the people in the picture are physicians and pediatricians. I was the only medical student because I had a dean, El-Matwali, who believed the chances should be given to students. And these are the future, a woman of vision, a woman that was phenomenal. My hubby, I couldn't be here without him. He supported me in all my crazy ideas. He supported me traveling. He supported me being in the US. He's just for me and I can't thank him enough. And he puts up with everything. I mean, I'm not a very pleasant person as I am at work, but he supported me and he believed in me when my extended family thought I was crazy coming to the US. But he said, do it. If this is what you want to do. After 10 years after my fellowship, I came to the US. Residency after I graduated, went to one of the Ivy League programs, Brown University. I had my residency and I had my fellowship and I graduated, and here is Bill O, the legend of neonatology. And Dr. Padbury, who I learned one thing from him, a lot of things, but one thing I would never forget. 2 things. Never rock the boat. If it's working, don't rock the boat. And he said, you know what's the most 3 letters in the world? And I said, no, I don't know. And he said, DNA. These are the most important letters. And then I knew he changed them to NIH, and I don't blame him. Barbara Stone Street in the middle. She is my fellowship program director. She's the reason I'm in Maryland. I went to interview for Selma to get into college. And Betty Vore was there, and she got me an appointment. She got me an interview for child development. I was going to stay in Rhode Island, where I started. And Barbara said, after all of this and all the WHO experience, what are you doing? Why are you going back to training? I know a place that could benefit. She called Cynthia Bearer, and she said, I have someone I want you to meet. She works with the WHO, and she would be your person for the NICU. You want to start. Betty Vore, she's an inspiration. She has everything you want to learn. Honestly, everything. You can't imagine what a mentor she was. She's been a mentor throughout my career, during fellowship, during publications, but the little details. I remember I had my first podium presentation, huge thing in the year 2000. And she asked me, don't know, Betty, if you remember, what are you going to wear? I'm like, okay, I don't know. And she said, okay, you have two colors. Black is dignity and red is power. And she talked about jewelry. It should just be one piece and the length of the skirt. And I was like, wow, that level of detail for mentorship. Richard Tucker is her statistician and still is Dr. Vore's statistician. So I went to Richard and said, I have written the manuscript 4 times. Every time Betty returns the manuscript with a different color, blue, green, red, he told me, show me. And then he looked and said, oh, that's the final version. It's in blue. You're very close to publications. Great time, Betty. We've published together. We shared Nile cruises, came to Saudi, and till the moment, I've been asking you for advice and career choices. Thank you so much for being here today. A lesson that I never thought you would, I never even expected that you would be more than listening on streamlining, but you said you want to be there for me and that you're proud. And it's another lesson you are teaching me. Went back from Brown University as a regional trainer in NRP, and that was my mission. For 7 years, I disseminated NRP, neonatal resuscitation program, everywhere to decrease HIE and encephalopathy. And I was recognized by my group for this. I got the Sheila Wallace Award from the International Child Neurology Association in year 2005, and I shared the award with Otto Hara. I heard about Otto Hara syndrome, but to stand there and give the keynote speech and share such a prestigious award was very gratifying and at the same time humbling for what I need to do. Wagdi Talat, why is he on my slide? He's a medical education and a pathologist. I lost my son as a neonate after my fellowship and training. And it was one of the most moving things in my life. It just makes you, it humiliates you. You know too much, but you don't know enough. But I got the strength because of the experience I went through to be there for our mothers, to be there for the NICU, to make sure I understand every mother, not only her tears, but her anger, and to accommodate this because I lived it and I knew it. And he met me at the parking lot after my maternity leave. I came back and I was crying. And he asked me, and I said, it's very difficult for me to take care of babies now. He said, come work with me in medical education. We worked in medical education. I got my master's from Maastricht University, and I wrote my first grant. The first grant to the European Commission and the Higher Education Enhancement Project. We started a master's in medical education, not only medical, but health sciences education in 2006. Wrote the first grant. WHO called us, wanting to sponsor the candidates. Till now, the program is running, and we have over 1,000 graduates, and I still teach online every year for the program that I started. And it meant a lot. We traveled the Middle East, Oman, Bahrain, Saudi, Libya. Yeah. I got stranded in a sandstorm. We had to go down in the desert, and it was a military satellite. So we were in jail, but for good reason, until the storm was done and we flew again. We took this message everywhere to enhance medical education. Since I returned from my fellowship in the year 2000, and until I joined the University of Maryland, mainly for my daughter's education, that was my mission. I stopped at sick kids. I wanted to learn about neonatal transport, and I had a fellowship. And I learned from being there. I put their curriculum for epidural analgesia for babies coming back from surgery. Lovely group. I learned how they discussed on weekly basis every single transport in a transport quality improvement project. I was in Canada, and all I know, they said, "You speak Arabic?" And I said, "I do." And then they said, "You have a master's in medical education?" I said, "I have." So we need our person in Saudi Arabia. And it's funny, I've never been in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is literally an hour and a half from where I am. I never thought there, and I'm in Toronto now, and they asked me to go back to start the neonatal fellowship program. I worked with Maya Bussoud, a wonderful woman who trained herself here in New York. And she was outstanding. We did miracles, and we started the neonatal fellowship program. I spent 3 years there. I graduated the first batch of fellows. William O was there to share my success. He's such a wonderful person, and I still have his paper where he drew my career. Because the paper is in home in Egypt, not in my home here. And he told me exactly how my career will be. And he couldn't come today. He sent me a lovely email. God bless him. He played a major role in my life. Famer. I joined the ECFMG before I knew I was coming here. And I got selected as one of 16 people who will be candidates for the Foundation of International Research in Medical Education. I studied in Pennsylvania. This is USMLE, the international version. And I learned a lot. And then I got accepted here in University of Maryland, and I did graduate in my second year being here. After I worked on medical professionalism, and we published, as we are putting the curricula for the medical students in Saudi, and to make sure patients come first, and prioritizing patient service, which I was amazed to know I didn't need to do much. It's humanity. I traveled a lot. People are the same. People put us on the pedestal. They look at us as healers. However, this is professionalism, because this is what we committed to. But on the other hand, humanism and humanity is when we put ourselves next to people, just another human member. This is where we should be. My daughter, thinking I make the worst financial decisions because I'm still staying in a rent house and I didn't buy a house after all these years. And it's expensive. I know I postponed your wedding for 2 years because I had to open the NICU. So it is the commitment, and I hope I teach her something like my mother taught me, like my mother taught me. My hubby, I cannot say enough. Colleen Driscoll, I see you there. You once looked at one of my manuscripts and you said, "How could you find a spelling mistake for me?" It wasn't me, it was him, revising my manuscript before publication. He's been a partner, he's been a friend, he's been an advocate. I can't say enough, but he's God's gift to me. Cynthia Bearer, she believed in me. When Barbara Stonestream called her, and I came to Maryland the same day of my flight and had to change my flight to meet her, and then came for an interview, I told her, I do medical education. She said, we do not need medical education. I have a fellowship director. I need a medical director. And I said, I've never done this. She said, no, we need a new NICU. If you were able to manage World Health Organization issues, I think you can manage people. And here I got the position. And she said, how long are you going to be here? I said, just for my daughter's education. I'll be back after she graduates from College Park. And here I am. She actually said, no, I want a 10-year commitment. And I apologized. I said, I can't promise, but I got my second interview. We published together volatile organic compounds, toxicants, and I work with her as the editor, associate editor for pediatric research. She's been a wonderful woman, my mentor and my friend. And she actually also came to my daughter's wedding all the way to Cairo. And that's her. And on my daughter's wedding rehearsal, she played the piano in my house. It's just incredible when we come to humanity and small things that make huge difference in people's life. NICU, Colleen Driscoll again. Oh my God, we had to put our helmet, me, Colleen, and Joan Tracy, who's here today, our former NICU nurse manager. We spent all this time trying to figure out to put what where. We spent very long meetings until 7 and 8 weekly trying to figure out everything you could think of, everything. Curative designs, textures, colors, harmonies, neutral colors. We involved the parents in choosing our colors. We thought of the Cuddlers program. We have the integrated medicine with music in the NICU. A big, huge dream that we worked so hard for. Thank you, Joan Tracy, for being here today for me. I know you came all the way and you are not in Maryland. It means a lot. So how could the dream come true? And I see Stacy and Rick Hoffman, the trustees for the Gigi Foundation. This could only come true with their support. Such a wonderful NICU, more than $33 million. Such a beautiful place. Every single detail, we were able to make it come true. Noise, the urinal variation of light. So if you forget the light, the room darkens. It's incredible place, and it happened. It happened because there was a dynamo behind this. And I know Suzanne Boyle is here today. You always thank everyone, Suzanne. And I really want to thank you today. And please share with me thanking her. So how could I do it? I did it because I stand on the shoulder of giants. Teresa J. My diet. We made it happen. We opened a lovely NICU. How can we keep it? How we can take care of such a huge team. She was my diet for a long time. See Miss Penny here, 47 years as being the NICU clerk, 47 years of devotion and giving. My lovely team. Vicki Beltran, she's director of APPs and nurse practitioners and physician assistants. We did it, the three of us, the trio, to make this thrive and continue. And I have to mention Linda Moses, 46 years of service in the NICU and the first colored nurse practitioner that worked in this institution. She passed away in 2021, and she left a legacy, simple, but very effective, and an example for everyone. My faculty, I have a talented faculty that I am honored to serve. Not a single faculty member is an average person. And I know Cynthia Vera, when she was leaving, she said, you know, NICU is easy, Dina, but this group of faculty, they are not the same. They are different. She's so right. They are different because they are talented. They are unique. They come with wealth that is unmatchable. They, each and every one of them, brings to the table something that's so unique that this NICU and this division is moving ahead because of them. Thank you for all and each of them. My patients, talking about humanity. This is an email I received in 2015 after being here for 5 years. And I couldn't believe it. She pretty much said that her grandson was born in June 1999 at Women and Infants Hospital. And that's a 16-year-old by that time. And she said, I was there for his resuscitation. She talked about his APGARs being 0. And Dr. Metwally brought him back to us. I would love to reach her and tell her that not a day goes by that I don't think of her and thank her. And she asked me if I was the same Dr. Metwally. I cried for a long time. I couldn't believe that someone would still even remember my name. 16 years, identify my name, find my email. This is the link. This is the fine link between us and the community. It's the people that we are privileged to serve. In every craftsmanship, craftsmen are proud of what they are doing. But guys, we are healers. We are healers. It means a lot. It takes us beyond professionalism to humanity and understanding that regardless where in the world we are, we have a big role, and yet people are the same. They are pretty much the same, and the highest honor is to serve them. I have to thank my research collaborators. They are actually the backbone of my research career. I worked with them and learned research from them, all translational medicine. The substance use in pregnancy, headed by Asaf Keller. Seth Amant, working on small RNAs and working on SNP arrays. Every single person, Matangi from School of Pharmacy, did my real-world data, and the patency that we got from University of Maryland for prediction of outcome for babies exposed to opioids. I also have to thank my HIE group, and I know they are among us here today. I always had passion. I got my Sheila Wallace Award because of the HIE. And we're still continuing with functional MRI with Prashant and Rao. And I have Pei and Lou here, who moved from Hopkins to join our group and to continue the journey. Lots of publications and collaborations. And this is the way to go. I want to thank people in my last 10 years who made a huge difference. Maureen Black, I went to Dr. Zen and I said, I need to graduate. And he said, okay, I'll get you a research mentor. You'll work with a research mentor. And I'm like, what's a research mentor? I was like, okay, Maureen Black, oh my God. She has lined every milestone and every success in my career. She read over my CVs and my portfolios. She came with ideas I never even thought of. She suggested Hani Ali to write my promotion letter for the period in Egypt. Such an out-of-the-box person, such an innovative person. She's wonderful, lovely, supportive. And here she is today, going through my career path, and I couldn't have done it anyway better than she did. Dean Reese. Dean Reese knew me by name, and I was surprised first time he called me by my name. I mean, I saw him a few times like in person, but his granddaughter was in the NICU. Just like Governor Hogan was in the NICU, his grandson was in the NICU. And they believed in our work, and they chose for their grandchildren to be there. He was very supportive to the medical school. And indirectly, that was support for the department and the division. Rose Viscardi, it's the science with a touch of grace. She's just incredible. She has attention to details. I still have pictures of her tomatoes that she carried to the place. It grew on my balcony. And I was like, can it really grow? And she said, yeah, that's how you do it. Her soup cucumber, every step, including going to Dr. Zinn for the interim division chief. I had to sit with her and talk to her. She advised, she guided. She was there when I needed her, even with an NIH reviews. She came all the way, we had lunch, to tell me how to be an NIH reviewer, how to go through this. And I learned from her a very unique thing that I want to share with everyone. Rose, let me share, please. She disagrees with honor and grace. Like we disagreed a couple of times in my whole career. The way Rose handles difference in opinion is an art. I can't speak enough. Even having Thanksgiving in your home, and I see Jeff is here. Thank you so much for all of you. The Cobey family. Well, it's the honor I have to continue this journey for. Thank you for this professorship. It's a huge honor. I know it's a huge honor really that's bestowed on me. I promise the journey continues and continues as forceful and even better than it started, because the things I learned now are much more bigger than the things I learned before. And I'm ready now, whether for SIDS or for saving preemies or for saving babies in the NICU, babies in the community, babies exposed to opioids. I promise this journey will continue. It's such an honor, and I'll make sure I'll continue standing up for how prestigious and honorous this name is, the Cobey family. Last, Dr. Gladwin and Dr. Santa. I have to pose for Dr. Zinn. I wouldn't have been here, Dr. Zinn, if it wasn't for you. You believed in me, even when I was the interim chief. And you gave me the space. I made very difficult decisions. Very difficult decisions. I started in October 2019. And all I know, COVID hit, and I didn't sign up for COVID. And he believed in me. Decisions made for the fellowship, decision made for the division. He would discuss with me, he would advise. At the end, he would say, at the end, it's your call. This is my advice, and I'll support you. He supported me from all over, even as a medical director, he was my support. Creating this lovely NICU, going to him and having discussions in life, and a lot of things that are common. And I really appreciate his mentorship, that he never, it didn't come under the word mentorship, but it's huge. It's like every time I walk into his office, I learn something. I literally write it down. Even for the small things, he gave me advice that if it wasn't for him, I would have made some decisions that I would have regretted. But he told me, you know, you can make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. You learn from them. And having my chair tell me it's okay to make mistakes, that's huge. I recall Dr. Gladwin's presentation to us when he talked about prioritizing people. And you said, it's the faculty, it's the students, it's people, okay? It's the staff. And I felt it was okay. I'm a starter. I can make mistakes and I'll be forgiven. I have another chance. But I was very keen not to make mistakes and to make him proud. Thank you, Dr. Zin, for the trust you put in me. Dr. Santa, the CEO of the University of Medical System, University of Maryland Medical System. He was here today and it means a lot in the world to me. He used to come to the NICU to talk to parents, to make sure they are satisfied, to make sure we are okay, to ask about the problems. Literally, he's walking into the NICU to check on everyone. He supported us with everything, the donor breast milk program and many other things. Thank you for being there for my staff, for the NICU, for all of us, and being aligned with the School of Medicine. Dean Gladwin, it's been 3 months for you. I promise you, I'm working with Dr. Zin to make your vision happen. I know that dreams alone are not enough, but we'll be there for data, for access, for prioritization of humans, for excellence, for the community, for going out on partnership, for translational science and research that I started. And I promise I'll make you proud of me. This is my last slide. I dedicate this whole event, which maybe is the biggest event of my life, my career, to my mother, the woman who inspired me as a professional, as a pediatrician, as a successful woman, and is here with me today to share what Dr. Gladstein told me is the nachas, and she should be here. So I told her, hey, Mom, Dr. Gladstein told me you should be here today. She was like, oh, I'll attend this online. And I said, it's the nachas, it's the joy your children brings you. And he told me, but they are rare. Those are one of the few joys. And I said, this is one of the few joys I'm going to bring you. She's here today. Thank you, Mom, for being here. And thank you. Thank you for everything you told me and you're still teaching me. For all of you, for Selena, my admin, for Tony Bibo, for Malika, who couldn't be here today, also my admin assistant. Thank you for all my guests because you made my day.
So I get to be the last person to congratulate Dr. El-Matwally on this incredible honor. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. This concludes our ceremony, but I would like to ask the endowed chairs and professors who are in the audience, if you could please come to the stage so we can take a photograph with our newest endowed professor. And I would invite everyone else to please enjoy the reception in the back of the room, and we'll join you shortly. Dina, once again, congratulations. So professors come up and the reception is open.